I tried to reset a few settings, and I was hoping that maybe it sounds better. Just like every once in a while. Oh, there you go. Every once in a while, there's like a little crunch in my speaking, and as the guy editing and stuff, you're like, oh, this makes it unlistenable, right? Even though probably nobody cares. But hey, if someone's listening and you do care, tell me. Although I think only 5 people listen to this part. So. Oh, what are you doing for Halloween then? You gotta have notable plans, right?
Oh man, I mean this whole month has been crazy for everything Halloween. Friday, I'm going to a special screening of Dawn of the Dead in 3D.
The original.
The original, they spent like $2 million converting it to 3D.
Yeah, sure.
Why
I'll do
not?
that.
If you have the money, why not do it?
Yeah, yeah, by all means. What's the last? I think the last time I saw something in 3D was maybe Tron Legacy or the last Harry Potter movie, one of those. Tron Legacy being, I think, done properly, and the last Harry Potter being like the ultra terrible conversion.
Yeah.
But then they started showing in Japan. They started showing the Japanese dub versions as 3D version, and now 3D is back out of fashion, so it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
How about the new Avatar? Is that 3D?
Oh yeah. It's
Okay.
gotta be.
It's
gotta
gotta
be.
be. I haven't actually heard anything, So.
You haven't heard a ton yet. Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually for the sci-fi when we're doing our James Cameron month, so we'll bash out Abyss, Aliens, the first Avatar, and the new one. We'll hopefully get to and do a podcast because it'll be quite anticlimactic if we don't.
Yeah, right.
Okay, let's bonk on into this one. Just bringing my notes up, my trivia, so I can actually read them properly. Cool. Sorry, my computer's getting really slow. I should have listened to that Norton message that said, do this thing that gets your computer back sped up. I mean, that being the one I have on my computer, not like an ad, right?
Oh, yeah. We hope. Yeah. Hard to tell what's an ad and what's not anymore.
Yeah, really. Oh, yeah. I got my buddy and I got like Elsa-gated by Adult Swim Saturday night because I put on too many cooks, right?
Yeah.
And we were just kind of talking and hanging out, and it kept like going to the next video to the next video, and just got to like more and more like bizarre like Adult Swim bumpers.
Yeah.
So we got to like fart copter and the unedited footage of a bear, if you've ever seen that. Have you seen that one?
I haven't seen that one. No.
Oh, it only shows you a bear for like 30 seconds, then goes. You're saying you can't tell it's an ad anymore or not. It goes to like a medicine commercial with the countdown and the skip ad, but you can't press it. That's actually the video, and it turns into. You actually need to watch this one. Just look up unedited footage of a bear on YouTube after this, and
I'm gonna put that in so I have it ready
because it definitely goes into like psychological horror land eventually.
Oh yeah, it auto filled it in right away.
Yeah, okay, it knows what it is then. Yeah, definitely have a look at that one. But yeah, that was us getting Elsa-gated. I think Fart Copter is where I was like, okay, we're fully being like adult Elsa-gated now. the kid his parents took away his fart copter, so he just started a campaign against his family and friends. He's like holding his friends up to gunpoint to like give them like positive testimony about the fart copter. I don't want to be here anymore. So yeah. Those Adult Swim. You have seen Too Many Cooks though, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of like I think everyone's seen that at this point. Okay, I guess I'm going to get into this. I'm going to leave just a couple seconds silent so I can easily find where to cut. Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast, where we look into the Twilight Zone and beyond. This is Matt here, coming back today for, I think it's round 3. Henrique Couto. Is this round 3 or 4 on this? Do you remember? I forgot.
Think this is my 3rd one.
Yeah. Because we stumble you in for sci-fi movies too, and I lose track of everything,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the 3rd one on Twilight Zone.
Okay, we're right smack dab in the middle of season 2 now, and looking at Back There, which 2 things come to mind. Fievel Mouse singing his song An American Tale, which might actually be called Back There. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head, but that sounds familiar.
So that, or I don't actually remember what that song sounds like, right? So it's more like an image in that case. Actual song wise, I think of Dinosaur Jr.'s Out There, which is a little bit different, but
A little, just a smidge, yeah, just a
yeah.
smidgen.
um, so I guess we'll just start rattling off into it, and I will do a bit of trivia for Back There, which doesn't have any musical numbers, but that's fine. The original air date was January 13th, 1961, and the script is by Rod Serling. This episode was directed by David Orrick McDermott. He previously directed Execution, which shares a similar time travel vibe. He also directed 2 episodes of Gilligan's Island, which is important because
Yeah.
Corrigan is played by Russell Johnson, who had a long and varied career, but will forever be known as the professor on Gilligan's Island. He also appeared. He also appeared in the episode Execution. I'm getting our streams a little crossed here. John Wilkes Booth was John Lascelles. He was a Shakespearean trained actor who made the TV rounds in the 1960s, though his best known role would come later as Dr. Peter Guthrie on Dark Shadows. The music is an original score from Jerry Goldsmith and is full of his eerie sci-fi vibes. Jimmy Linden played the patrolman. He started as a child star for Paramount and RKO in the 1930s and had found his way to TV by 1960 on shows such as Wanted, Dead, or Alive. He only passed away this year at the ripe old age of 98.
Wow.
Yeah. But yet, hey, was that just me, or did you feel like you're watching Simon Pegg the whole time?
I got those vibes a little bit, without a doubt.
I was just like, yeah, there's been a few recently. I just recorded the one for 22, and at the end, it's like the last scene of the episode. I'm like, suddenly, this guy looks like the engineer from Enterprise, and this guy looks like Matt Smith, but it's 1961 TV. What's happening? and they're all just one-line characters as well. They're not actual characters in the episode, so it's just that's like an unintended meta Twilight Zone for you, I guess. So
Ooh, we're getting into the weeds now.
We are getting into the weeds. Does this episode get into the weeds will be the big question, though. So let's roll the ball into the correct direction, and please give us the prologue.
Witness a theoretical argument. Washington, D.C. The present. 4 intelligent men talking about an improbable thing, like going back in time. A friendly debate revolving around a simple issue. Could a human being change what has happened before? Interesting and theoretical, because whoever heard of a man going back in time? Before tonight, that is, because this is the Twilight Zone. Bum, bum, bum.
Groovy. Which actually that also was in the episode I did a few nights ago. They had the word groovy in 1961. I was like, that's groovy. Yeah.
Whoa.
This one, I don't think they said groovy, because we start off the 4 intelligent men. These guys are the enemy, right? These are the banker scum of the world.
I felt like they were kind of subtle about why they were aristocratically rich, but they were definitely aristocratically rich.
Yeah, I'm like, these are not our people. This is like 4 Barry Lyndon sitting around the table, Actually, I'll take that back. Barry didn't seem sharp enough to discuss time travel. So
yeah, no, no matter what their lot in life, they're definitely nerds if they're sitting around talking about time travel.
But by the way, I'm bringing up Barry there because I just watched it for the first time. That was a Kubrick I'd never seen, and when I put it on, I'm like, the whole time, this is a comedy, which I thought it was gonna be the driest thing ever. So that movie definitely has the wrong reputation, because it's pretty funny.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating story of how they made that movie, because they didn't use cinema lights. They filmed it under mostly existing light by using a special technology and special custom made lenses to allow them to film in such low light.
Yeah. So you're thinking technical, dry Kubrick, but no, it's actually like a pretty goofy, weird movie. So
yeah, I dig that one a lot.
Now this one, of course, tries to give us a candlelight too. but we know the studio lighting is still there. They definitely were not using NASA lenses on this one.
Exactly. No, they were not.
So, although I did like the effect where the professor, I should give him his proper name in this episode, which I've already said, Corrigan. When Corrigan travels back in time, I did think that was a nice, cool, like, I mean, obvious effect, but still just it served its purpose. So I
It
liked
worked
it.
very well. Yeah. The camera slowly moves over to the street light and then fades to the street light being an oil lamp instead. I love that.
Yeah. Now, I'm not jumping straight to a tripometer. This is a different question, but you can meter it if you want. On the on time travel inappropriateness of Corrigan. So, if you're familiar with the past episodes, we have walking distance where Marty in there is like a full like five, like he does everything possibly wrong that he can in walking distance when he goes back in time. We get the trouble with Templeton where the guy kind of rides with it, and that might not be time anyway, but he does it relatively like in a smart way, I guess. Like he's cool about it. I guess Corrigan somewhere in the middle. What do you think?
Well, I did find it interesting. The moment he realized he was back in time, he was almost immediately trying to change the timeline. Um, like without a single thought, just immediately, like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with wanting to prevent the assassination of Lincoln, I suppose, but it's not like in the current timeline because Lincoln was assassinated, like the North lost the war or something. Like it's that was Lincoln's death was a tragedy of one. Like, oh, it's a bummer Lincoln's dead, but it's not like I don't know. I don't know. It's not like killing Hitler, where it's like, oh, well, that would save millions of lives. It's saving Lincoln's just like, I always liked Lincoln. He wore a funny hat. I don't want him to die.
Yeah.
But I did like I did like the way they built up the realization that was the night of Lincoln's assassination. That definitely made me feel kind of a creepy vibe when because you're not exactly sure when it is right away. You just know it's before electricity, and then they kind of build it up.
Yeah, well, they foreshadowed exactly where he is going, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I guess like he basically does bungle it as bad as Marty, but he has more of a purpose. And walking distance,
Yes.
Marty is just like totally like stumble bumming into everything and doing exactly the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Corrigan, he's a man with a mission, and at every point of the mission does like completely the wrong thing.
Well, I mean, the biggest immediate mistake you can make is going straight to the police. Yeah, they'll help you. I'm sure. Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah. Good luck with that one.
He's hanging out the aristocrats club. That's the welcome he thinks he's going to get, right? So, but I mean, and from their perspective, the town drunk is stumbling and screaming at them. So,
He could have if he wanted to save Lincoln, the best way to do it would have been to fake an attack himself on Lincoln once the show started before Wilkes Booth could have a chance. That way they would grab Lincoln and escort him out.
yeah. And exactly. Oh yeah, it was like go to the theater, like set up
Yell
shops
fire.
or like
Yeah,
like
something.
Tom Cruise and Rogue Nation, right? Get 5 different masks or something,
Yes.
Masks is well, actually, Masks is a different Twilight Zone episode, isn't it? But whoa, but yeah, he definitely for a person who's supposed to be smart, he is not playing this situation very well. Even with like he goes to his house, which is like a boarding house at the time, and after yelling at the lady for a while, books a rinse a room, right? So, which he
Well,
does not.
I love how quickly she's enamored with him when she finds out he's a professional who served in the military and all that. She just immediately just like, oh,
Like
move right in.
well, like you mentioned, Lincoln's assassination to a certain extent is a tragedy. One, because the war was, I mean, Reconstruction was just starting, but the
Yeah.
war was basically the treaty has been signed by this point. So
Yeah.
you could say Lincoln maybe could have finessed Reconstruction better than Johnson, but who totally stumbled over it and then handed the presidency over to a drunk after getting impeached. So things did not go well. I mean, people think the presidency hasn't gone well for the past, like, the post-Obama years. It didn't go so well in the 1860s either.
I wouldn't say it's gone well much at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's the last president that didn't seem like a war criminal? Carter?
Oh man, I think you're way too late in the game. I don't know, like the first half a term of Washington.
Well, he'd committed his war crimes 20 years earlier.
Yeah, well, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. That's the way it goes.
This
But,
with Lincoln, we're getting, we're just because of time and human length of life. We're all getting like a third, fourth, fifth telephone call. For Lincoln. Who knows what the deal was?
Yeah, that makes sense. So, so yeah, he just basically starts raving like a lunatic, though. That's really where he goes with it once he figures out that it's the night Lincoln gets assassinated.
Well, I guess he might get manic, like I need to do everything at once. But what was he expecting? Like, I'm stuck in this time forever. I'm gonna go back into the club and be back in my normal time of 1960. Is he expecting to get like killed in the past?
Yeah, I don't know I mean, he definitely had no clue what was going on other than where he was and when, to an extent. But I thought it was interesting that he withheld telling people he was from the future. He was smart enough to know that was a one-way ticket to an asylum.
Yeah, couldn't he just? I mean, they already had some kind of like intelligence at this point, right? I mean, you could say military intelligence. They had to have military intelligence.
I kept waiting for him to say, when they kept saying, like, how do you know this? I kept waiting for him to say, I heard a guy in a bar bragging about it. He never said it. I was like, why didn't you just say you overheard people in a bar saying they're going to kill Abraham Lincoln?
And then when he's in the station and he meets geez, I don't even remember what the dude's fake name was anymore. um just the guy walks in and I don't, it's like, oh yes, that's John Wilkes Booth. There's no way it's not.
Yeah, what's funny is when he walked in, he had a fake name and he claimed to be some kind of a doctor, and he offered to take this bumbling madman into under his wing to try to help him. I did think it was funny because my first thought was like, he kind of looks like the way I remember John Wilkes Booth, but it was more the flourish of the way he spoke. I was like, oh yeah, that's a stage actor. Like, he's just like, hello, I am a doctor who could probably help this man. And I was like, that's John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah,
the man was in many plays.
doing his most important acting role ever in the police station. That's right. So, and also Corrigan, like obviously he knows enough about the assassination, like he knows the time and everything. I mean, I've already forgotten what the time is. I know a lot of history. I'm good with history, but I wouldn't remember the specific time. What was it, 8:25? I don't, was that it? I don't even remember anymore.
I think it was like 8:25 or something, but maybe they taught it. You got to remember that was like 1960, so we had to learn like 30, 40, 50, 60 more years of history than they did. So maybe they stuck on it longer than than our education did.
I don't know. My school pretty much stopped at World War II.
I mean, yeah, for the most part.
What's after that? Vietnam? Let's skip that, because history, of course, is all wars. It's not like people live their lives and you can do history based on that.
No, not at all. No, my school, like, we got a little ways into like the Gulf War, and then that was it. It was like, all right, off into the planet you go.
Yeah, I mean, like we were watching it on television when they start the first one, but but yeah, I don't think I ever had like actual schooling in the Gulf War. But I guess they're like, you saw it on the news. Got to trust the news. That's all real.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was in high school, it was the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. They didn't talk about that in school, because that was happening.
Right. I guess they were like, oh, we have to explain to these dumb children why this current one's happening, and trying not to mention it's because of greedy or oil barons and wanting to steal the magical black cube from the Museum of Baghdad.
I think
to open up a Stargate. That's what I think.
Always Stargate. The
Always
answer is
Stargate.
always Stargate.
Yes.
Well, and yeah, and I think that the smartest thing they could do was just explain to us why all the other wars happened, which would basically explain exactly why this war happened. Because at the end of the day, they very seldom deviate from that initial way.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, you got the John Wilkes Booth illustration in like every textbook, right? And this guy looks
Oh yeah.
exactly like the illustration. So you know, and by the time he'd gone home with the guy and the guy had served him a drink, he could have put like, 1 + 1 together,
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So a friend of mine, Andrew Heaton, he wrote this science fiction comedy book, and it's like 11 short stories, and one of them is about a guy who travels back in time to stop Lincoln from getting assassinated, but he just keeps going back in time and killing Edgar Allan Poe again and again and again, thinking it's John Wilkes Booth. So that's whenever I think of John Wilkes Booth, I immediately think of like, well, he did look a lot like Edgar Allan Poe.
Well, he is also 50 miles off the mark, isn't Poe Baltimore?
Exactly. He wasn't that far off either.
That's weird because you think of Edgar Allan Poe as, being some guy speaking to you in like, like an aristocratic British voice. But no, it would have sounded like some Marilyn Hick.
Who was just obsessed with the concept of madness. I
Yeah.
love Poe's writing so much, but he's just like, so then a thing happens that drives him mad. Like every story.
And once we get to Lovecraft and a similarly screwed up psyche, he's like, I can't go in about madness unless they're mountains. So he's more for the indescribable, the unfathomable.
That's the ultimate, ease of writing. Terror is beyond all human comprehension. All right. Anyway,
Another man who probably didn't have an aristocratic accent, but you would think has one. He probably couldn't even talk. Lovecraft apparently like couldn't like involve himself with other people properly.
Yeah, he had a lot of problems.
We won't talk. Was it? We won't talk about what his cat or his dog was named. It's one of those. I don't remember.
I can't remember. I mean, but you have to be more specific if you want to. If you're like, what's the racist thing about Lovecraft? I'd be like, be more specific. Let's work together.
my go-to is his pet's name, which I won't say on air.
No.
Because I'm not Joe Rogan. I want to. Oh, and then our next character. I mean, the one that stuck in my mind. There are a lot of actors in here, and some of them just had those, red wiki names, so you're not getting any info on them, right? But and I see. I can't. All I can think of now is Simon Pegg. Now it's to find the guy's real name or character's name. Oh, he's just the patrolman. I guess he doesn't really have a name, but
yeah. And did you notice his badge number on his hat?
Was it 666?
No, 69.
Oh yeah. Okay,
every time he popped up, I saw his hat and went, nice.
I'm Patrolman 69, here to party. No, not here to patrol you. I don't know.
Nice.
But yeah, so that is where he did end up changing the time stream, right?
Yeah, and that's actually, because at first I thought the twist was going to be that the guy who was quote unquote helping him turns out to be John Wilkes Booth himself. I also was surprised they didn't make it that. For a second, I thought they were going to make it that John Wilkes Booth overheard him and went, hey, you're right, Lincoln's unguarded, I'll kill him. But they didn't go with that. So at first I thought the twist was kind of weak, thinking that the twist was just that was John Wilkes Booth. So the real twist being that what he didn't do what he wanted it to do, but it had an unintended effect of causing someone else that he knows to be rich and powerful, was really fascinating to me. I liked that.
And it also made sure we know that even Corrigan's a bit of a scumbag, because when he meets him again, and the man is now like I guess he's old money by this point. Well, no, you got to be like hundreds of years to be old money, don't you?
Yeah, but he was, because it was his grandfather was who he saw in the past.
I guess that's old money in America, but in Europe,
yeah,
that wouldn't rate.
No, not it wouldn't even. Yeah, people would be like, huh? Nah, it doesn't count.
Anyway, Corrigan still goes and starts talking to him like the help. That's just like his default. If they look like the help, I'm going to talk to or if I think they're the help, I'm going to talk to them that way.
Although he did seem fond of him, for the record, because it's easy to throw a lot of shade at him. But like when he poured coffee on him by accident right at the opening, he was like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." He was like, "Oh no, it's fine. Like what is it? It's just a little coffee. It's fine." He's like, "I'm terribly sorry." He's like, "No, no, no, don't worry about it." Like,
Well, that's kind of why I'm getting at, because he is nice, but he's being nice to the help. So when he sees him
sure.
again, he still treats him that way, even though the guy's clearly sitting in an easy chair wearing, what were they wearing, normal suits or tuxes, normal suits, right?
They were wearing three pieces. Yeah,
A
three-piece suits.
three-piece suit. So I mean, and he knows he just traveled through time, so he again just he can't put numbers together at all.
Yeah, he's definitely having a hard time with it. I did enjoy his response when he said, like, "Didn't you used to be a doorman here?" And he's like, "I don't fancy myself a snob, but I've been a member of this club since before you were born."
I get that now, because I have like 5 or 6 year old students, or younger or whatever, and they're still like Gaikokujin, right, which is foreigner in Japan. I'm like, I've been in Japan longer than you've been alive, kid. Who's the Gaikokujin now? But I did live in a different country, so I guess they're correct about that little bit of information.
Great dishonor.
I do want to talk about the music a little bit, because I think so far this is probably one of the best musical episodes for the Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah.
The ones that really kick in, I guess, are in season one we had a lot of like Bernard Herrmann scores, and this season it seems, and we get some this season. We got some Jerry Goldsmith last season, but it seems season two is more like Goldsmith's trip, and the music in this is like very obviously his music. Um, I think it seriously adds to the dramaticism of his time jump, that we start getting like those Star Trek V'ger boom. Those like
Yeah.
full, I don't, they weren't doing them full like whatever tube they were using, I think, but it's the same idea.
Yeah, and I remember when I was watching this, because I don't get a chance to revisit Twilight Zone that often until you drop me a message, and then I'm like, all right, back to the zone I go. But I remember as I was watching it, I was like, man, this music is huge and full, and my brain was just kind of like, I can't believe this was television during the early days of television. When television was considered an inferior product to films. But man, the Twilight Zone was way way strong.
Well, I guess that's where the formula, I mean, it's kind of a it's two steps forward, one step back, pretty literally, as a third of the shows get original scores, a third of them get repurposed scores, and a third of
Yeah.
them is just library music. So that third of original scores, they probably did have, they were obviously bumping the budget from the other 66% of the episodes for the 33 with the choice scores. And then, again, they're getting like just fantastic people to do the scores.
Yeah.
I need to research. I'm not sure if this is actually where Jerry Goldsmith got the start to his career or not, because I can't really think of anything before 1960 he did. So,
Yeah, it would have to be around that time that
yeah,
he started.
I mean, Bernard Herrmann, of course, was a very known quantity by this point. But in
Yes.
fact, it's like, why, in his case, like, why is he doing TV? So, I mean,
Must
now
have had
that,
a gambling problem.
yeah. um, oh, and I just have the note here when they're in the police station, just psychedelic harpsichord. That was cool.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. Any other big observations you want to throw out on this episode?
I mean, the big thing I could not stop thinking about was the fact that he was the professor. That was
And,
the
and
thing I kept struggling with.
in my notes I did mention it a couple times. Same director, same actor. I think Jerry Goldsmith might have done the score for Execution. It's kind of weird that they came back and like, oh, we got all the same people. It's a year later. We're gonna make another time travel episode. So it just felt a little weird that they all conspired to do this episode.
No, I did, and I felt like this was kind of like, I'm trying to think of the word. Like, this was like classic Twilight Zone in that it was simple and effective and very of its time, because back then it wasn't the giant shocks every single week. It was also the food for thought and that's interesting or that's peculiar, which is very like of that time, of like the end of the 50s and the start of the 60s.
But yeah, one of my regular co-hosts is just, for that just gone to giving the tripometer scores. It's like a huh or a whoa, you know.
Yeah.
He didn't give me number. He doesn't give me numbers anymore. So um, I won't describe the plot of this episode because we have yet. We're going to be there in maybe 2 months. I don't know. It's later in season 2, but I would like to supercut this with the silence. You know, like where this episode ends, the silence begins, which of
Yeah.
course has to do with another aristocratic club of bastards, and one of them, you know, deciding one is talking too much smack and, you know, making a bet with him. And that could have been Corgan. He's bragging about, he could start bragging about his time travel. It's like, sir, I wish you would shut up, you know?
Frankly, I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So
that's
anyway,
how
I want,
rich people say it to each other.
yeah, of course, those two episodes otherwise have nothing in common. So, but I don't know, it'd be kind of a fun flow, you know, like the 80s Twilight Zone where they started to pair up episodes in their hour block, you know, that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I could dig that.
Yeah. Um, let's roll into the questions then. The first one will be who in this episode went into the Twilight Zone?
Well, that one I think is pretty obvious. Is Mr. Kerrigan
Yeah, well,
or
I think
Harrigan?
it's Corrigan, but close enough.
Corrigan. Kerrigan. Yeah,
Oh,
close enough.
who cares? Oh, yeah.
But it was very clear he went into the Twilight Zone. I feel like they really gave us the moment when they had the light switch
Mm.
to a flame. So he's definitely the one in the Twilight Zone.
Well, let's think of some of the ancillary characters because, yeah, obviously, I mean, he's you know, you see him get into the car and drive off to the Twilight Zone, basically. So, other people, I was thinking about. Well, I guess the patrolman technically wouldn't so much because he just got a bit of information which he used for his benefit.
Yeah, he just kind of was. He was Twilight Zone adjacent.
Yeah, he's just got lucky. One person I decided did go into the Twilight Zone. Well, two people in the past. The landlady, she experienced some Twilight Zone because she had this madman come and then charm her and then rent a room and then
Yeah,
leave and never come back.
and never return without a trace.
Actually, it makes you think of the Did you ever see the Dana Carvey show?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you remember the jokesters? They'd go and like they'd like pay for their bowling shoes, and then while the guy was going to go get them, they'd just like run off, and you see them driving off in their car like laughing hysterically. There's one where they're being given like a sweepstakes, you know, like you've won $1 million, and there's the big check, and like, we've got to go get a pen. Next shot is them like driving off in their car laughing hysterically, and then like, oh wait, they finally got it, you know. So I thought that his run into his old house maybe smelled of that a little bit. I don't know if he paid her yet. If he paid her yet, it would be exactly that. But
I feel like that was back far enough when like credit was like literally people gave you the benefit of the doubt. It was like, okay, you can move in. You'll be paying on the first of the month.
you can't Google them.
Yeah, yeah. What are you gonna do? Of course, if you don't pay your rent, they may tar and feather you. So
Yeah. Hell yeah.
works
But
out.
even 30 years ago, I mean, you know, the people could check out, people would go a lot more on like good faith, right? Because you can't, now you just throw in a person's name. I remember around like 2003, 2004, people were starting to have the moral conundrum, like when they meet a new friend or get a new job, like, should I Google this person? It feels like I'm prying. And now you're just like, yeah, of course I'm going to Google this person.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google them and their parents and their parents' parents. Come on.
I'm gonna know their life's history before I meet them, you know, or after our first meeting.
I want the full leg up.
I want to know everything you said on Twitter for the past 20 years.
Done.
Ouch. Okay. The other person that we do need to talk about is the patrolman's grandson, who is the current rich man. Because I mean, obviously he's affected by the Twilight Zone, but did did he go into the Twilight Zone because his life completely changes?
I feel like if he's not aware of the change, then it's not. I don't. To me, it doesn't feel like he went into the Twilight Zone. I feel like the Twilight Zone, the most affected is the person who's aware something is simply not right.
But like and then the sky was open. That brings back, was that original guy that spilled coffee on Corrigan? Did he just like, is he like no longer in existence at all?
Oh yeah, he's in oblivion now.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer because all we get is a aristocratic prick instead, right?
He seemed nice enough. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they all seem nice enough until they, until they start signing papers, contracts, that sort of thing.
Your death warrant? Like, what are they
No,
gonna do to you?
like where they're gonna buy the tenement and kick everyone out, right? That sort of thing. I'm just taking a very like, bourgeoisie up against the wall stance with this episode because it's fun. So I'll focus the second question on Corrigan though, because that makes the most sense. Did he deserve his trip into the Twilight Zone?
Well, I do think he learned a lesson. You
Like a
know,
history lesson?
yeah, ooh. No, yeah, because he didn't learn a massive moral lesson necessarily, but he did learn that your actions have unintended effects.
Yeah,
You know, that's what he really learned.
yeah, the sort of the butterfly effect thing, but it worked out
Yeah.
a lot better for him than it did for who was in that? No, was it Jared Leto? Butterfly effect.
Oh, that was Ashton Kutcher.
Oh yeah. Okay, so about the same time. Yeah. Anyway, because what does he end up doing? Like losing his leg suddenly or things like that? Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty fun movie.
It is. That's a whack one. Yeah. I haven't seen it since opening night. I do need to watch it again.
Oh, it's worth a review.
Yeah. So, but this guy gets like the nicer version of that butterfly effect, right?
Yeah, this one was very. It was very subdued in that nobody got horribly harmed except Abe Lincoln, but he was going to get harmed anyway.
Yeah, he's not responsible for Lincoln's. Well, I don't know, if you go back in time, someone's going to die and you fail to stop it. Are you now responsible for the death? And you let the murderer dose you? You roofied him?
I mean, at least he tried. He just failed to stop Lincoln's assassination.
Yeah. Well, so the lesson he learned is the next time he goes back in time to like finesse things a little better.
Yeah.
You're for fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I won't get fooled again, right?
It all comes back around. I mean, yeah, I feel like it was definitely more of a kind of one of the Twilight Zones, which to be honest, I kind of like because entertainment now is so extreme. It's so like every episode has to have the biggest shocks, has to have the biggest startling moments, has to have the biggest climax, has to have the biggest this, biggest this. But I kind of like that this episode was understated. It was kind of just a strange experience with a few twists and turns and surprises.
Yeah, because now we'd have intercutting of the patrolman and the land, was it the landlady? Oh, okay, she did have a little more to do with this guy running around and trying to find Booth and Corrigan, I guess, whatever they were doing, I don't quite remember. So you'd be cutting between that, Corrigan like pulling him his roofied butt across the floor, and Booth doing his thing, and it'll all be like cut to dramatic music, and yeah, very 24.
Oh yeah. Well, and something I just thought about now that could make it a little bit more scary is what else has changed. Like, because we only see him the moment after he comes back from the Twilight Zone, comes back from the past, and he's in there and he sees that the doorman is now one of the aristocrats. Like, for all we know, everything was going to be different.
Like, and you go back to his house and be like a hobo house now. Just a bunch of people, like, what's the word when you just live somewhere?
Squatters.
Yeah, squatting. Thank you.
Or you get home and just have a wife that's a total stranger, one of his parents died that didn't before. I mean, like, there's so many things that would outwardly look like you came back to the exact same world, but in reality, you shouldn't have been dabbling in things you don't understand.
Well, that's what we have the Flash for, because they just keep doing it season by season by season.
Boom. Yep.
I really loved the first one. I watched the second one. I watched the first half of the third and never got to watching the second half of the third. So I did like organically give up on that show. So
as long as it happened naturally,
right. I wasn't like, damn the show to hell and then turn my back on. I just say, hey, I never got around to watching it again. Now they're on like season 8. Well, it's not gonna happen anymore. 5 seasons of Twilight Zone always cool, but yeah. So you might have already given your tripometer rating with your hum, but if you would like to numerize that one or not,
Remind me, is this a 1 to 5?
that's 1 to 5. 5 is like hella trippy.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely a hella trippy. I would give this a solid 3
Okay,
because the
that's
more I
right,
think
right.
about it, yeah, the more I think about it, the more I do think it's a bit trippier than I initially thought. Because now I'm starting to realize like the theater of my mind, where I'm like, wait, but what else could have changed? And like, did he change everything subtly and he has no idea? Like, is life as we know it different? All of that is now running through my mind. Of course, that could just be my anxiety disorder talking, but but regardless, you know, uh, so no, yeah, I think it's a solid, medium to the, just a bit above the middle. So I definitely say 3.
No, the mistake you made is when you said the theater of my mind, you didn't give it the John Wilkes Booth flourish.
The theater of the mind. I
There,
am a doctor.
there we go. Hey, maybe he was the doctor. He was time lording reality back to where it needed to be.
Yeah, right. I did like the little touch where he finds the handkerchief with John Wilkes Booth's initials on it in his pocket. I
I
like that he brought something back.
Yeah, oh yeah, you got to bring something back like Freddie's glove or a
Oh, his
napkin in this
hat,
case. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, it was a hat, wasn't it? Yeah, you don't
The
get a
first movie
glove.
was his hat. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was good. But I was mumbling it as you were giving it the 3. But yeah, I swear if people have to take me on good faith, I make sure to solidify the number I'm going to give before the guest says it. And yes, I was thinking firmly 3 because it's not that trippy. It's a history lesson, but it's got time travel.
Yeah.
If Disney's America had been built near Washington D.C., it would have been the trippiest attraction there. Did you ever hear about that one?
No.
Yeah, the initial they were like, we're going to teach you about history, but it's got to be a theme park. So there's all this weird thing like we're going to build a working steam mill, steel mill, excuse me, steel mill, and the roller coaster is going to go through it. Which because they were like, how are we going to make history exciting, right?
Yeah.
But then Euro Disney was already like imploding, so they kind of had to give up on like half of their ideas of the 90s. So that was one of them.
Yeah. Well, I also like that the more I think about it, the more I think it is a little bit more of a morality play than I thought, because if you think about where we were in the end at the end of the 50s and the beginning of the 60s, the idea that like you don't that your actions have unintended consequences and have unintended effects is pretty, it speaks volumes when you consider like how everything was kind of building up to a lot of what's the word? There was a lot of distrust and struggle between the foreign policy of the United States and civil rights, and there were just a lot of things getting ready to erupt. So maybe it was a little bit more of a wise thing to point out, like, look, you don't always know what you're actually doing.
Yeah,
Like you're wielding power you don't understand, and who knows what it could do.
I guess that's why I was like, because the Twilight Zone does quite a bit of time of like deconstructing the 50s, and
Yeah.
it had a real low hanging fruit with the club of rich white men. So and they didn't really go for it, but maybe subtly they did, as in like these people are only here because of just random actions.
Well,
You could be the
and that
guy.
we're all here because of random actions to some extent. Yeah.
Yeah, you could be the guy spilling coffee, or you could be the guy with the scotch and the giant armchair.
Yeah. I mean, because even the guy, when he announces, that he inherited his wealth, he's laughing because they're saying like, how do you, find the best way to make a bunch of money? He's like, I say inherit it. Like, so at least he's honest.
I don't have people read the outros, but Rod himself did peg this one as having highly questionable results.
Yeah.
So I mean that's kind of it, right?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay, I guess I'm ready to put this Oh, sorry, just one. I just saw one note where the patrolman and the landlady end up in John Wilkes' pad. Maybe that's a good time to search for evidence of premeditation instead of running off. Did they have no forensics in 1960? Excuse me,
Eh,
1865.
they did. They just pin it on whoever. It's fine.
It was a policeman who wasn't doing any forensics whatsoever. Like
Well,
it was a landlady, I'd get it, but
the more things change, the more they stay the same.
yeah, exactly. um, I was asking about Halloween up front, but Halloween is now in your past. So, is your November going to be creepy as well?
Well, I live in a world where spooky is a way of life, especially thanks to my podcast, Weekly Spooky, because we release new scary stories every week, and we've recently branched out into also doing what we call terrifying and true episodes, which are true crime, paranormal, folklore stories. So I'm always there. I've always got at least one foot in spooky at any given moment.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep your pumpkins right for November.
For a little
There are a
while,
lot of
yeah,
stuff,
until they
that
start
that
rotting.
you can Thanksgiving can be pretty spooky, especially when you start thinking about the, actual history of it all. Yeah, okay, there we go. Thanksgiving is way spookier than Halloween. And you gotta like, talk to family members of insane opinions and deal with the fact that people want to watch football all day. Although I guess you probably do what I did back there, which is just hit the movie theater on Thanksgiving.
That has been a long-standing tradition, but oddly enough, I never had any football family, so it was just never. It was all about just shoveling up that turkey and and praising my Aunt Betty's cooking. That was the most important element of Thanksgiving
I
because
named
she
your Aunt
was
Betty because I
incredible.
never liked turkey that much. Maybe she did it better.
She did it pretty well. Her husband was the one who usually made the turkey, but we had a good one because we had like Kentucky cooking for Thanksgiving, so it was like fried corn and chicken and dumplings and turkey and ham and man, now I'm hungry. Thanks. Jeez.
You're welcome. So get ready for. Actually, I'm not going to have any Thanksgiving dinner because in Japan, why would we have Thanksgiving? And then most of my coworkers are not American, so there's usually like one person like, "Hey, what about Thanksgiving?" It's like, yeah, just give up on it, man.
I mean, like, do they just have a commemorative dinner for the rape of Nanking instead? They're just like, yeah.
Yeah, really. Um, not that I know of. And the Kentucky chicken is held off until Christmas.
Yeah, that's a Christmas thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have it for Thanksgiving. Well, yeah, I don't remember when Thanksgiving is anymore because it's like, hey, everyone's off suddenly in America. What happened?
It's the last Thursday. It's easy to remember because it's not even a date. It's
No,
just
I
the last
no,
Thursday.
I don't care enough to even remember that. Okay. um, this is Time Enough Podcast. We're Time Enough Pod on Twitter and Facebook. You can send me your weird thoughts if you want, or you can help keep the lights on, hear episodes a bit early, hear the weird rambles that precede and come after episodes, and head for Patreon. You'll find us at Podcastio Podcastius, where you'll also hear us talking about sci-fi movies on Matt Luke's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. And there's some video game content with Luke Loves Pokemon, Monster Mash about Monster Hunter, and the Game Show, which is for British men screaming insults at each other in a game show format. Got to go for that. Okay. Ready to head back there? Where is your back there? Where do you want to go back in time today?
Oh man, I mean, really, I just kind of want to buy some Bitcoin in 2010.
Okay. Yeah, I think I bought $20 of crypto once, and I think it's currently $10 of crypto. So, oh well.
You got in late, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about that. I know people are like, oh, you need to care about it, but no, I don't really. Yeah. I mean, maybe I hate to be like, oh, I don't care about money, but I care about money if I don't have enough. But yeah, otherwise, I don't really care about money that much.
Fair enough.
So my back there, where I want to go today. It's one of those I want to rock out at 1967 Monterey days. I think that's where I'm going to go. My that's where it's going to turn from my light bulb into a lava lamp, man.
Nice.
Make a cut there. Oh yeah, you're a fan of bizarro musical instruments, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Hold on. I had a silent cello, electric cello. I realized I hadn't played it for a year because it just doesn't stand up to playing an actual cello and like anyway, so I traded it for this guy. Hold on.
Ooh.
Speaking of that hobo gear, right?
Oh wow, a resonator.
It's the current dobro. It's made by Epiphone, but that's fine. You can do that. Epiphone makes good guitars, so
Yeah, no, definitely. Wow, that's a beaut.
yeah, I got the slide and everything. So, well, I've had the slide for 25 years, but that's besides the
Wow.
point. But it doesn't really shine unless you do it that way. You play in your lap, you know,
Yeah, oh yeah.
because you can tune it to a normal guitar tuning and play it as a normal guitar, but it doesn't stand up to a good acoustic that way. But
Yeah.
yeah, once you got it in full slide lap slide mode, it's pretty gold.
And my buddy Todd, he plays hyper delta blues. So he plays half with a slide, half without on a big rezo sitting up. And he's like incredible. I don't know how he plays like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, I found if you want to sound more Hawaiian or bluegrass, you should play it on your lap or on a table.
Absolutely.
It looks
Yeah.
weird if you're playing it on a table, but it's quite convenient that way.
Yeah, definitely.
and yeah, if you want to delta blues it, you play it with a slide, but and still in an open tuning. The only thing is, I want bluegrass is open G tuning, right? And it sounds great. That means your bottom three strings and your top three strings are like the same. I mean, but
Yeah.
octaves apart. Problem is, I kept popping. I popped like 4 high E's, so I was like, okay, it's open E tuning then.
Yeah.
Also
Yeah, you don't
cool
want to be popping those.
because I even bought strings on Amazon. It said like resonator strings. I'm like, it seems thicker. Is that doesn't that mean it's going to break easier? Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's quite
I bought 2 sets, so next time I'll put it on and I put the proper resi set on and open E tuning. So still fun, but yeah, that's what I've been playing with this week. But yeah, today I'm going to go off and be a lion. That's my Halloween costume. I have to wear it all week at work.
nice.
Oh wait, no, I'm going to main school today, and I only have to wear my Halloween costume for one class, so it's Spider-Man.
Ah, okay, there you go.
Because I didn't want to carry this lion costume like home last night, take it to the main school today, then take it back here, then take it to the other school. That's too annoying. I'm going to bring my ukulele, but whatever. That's easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And there's no reason I'm bringing my ukulele either. I'm just yeah. Sometimes I just bring the ukulele. I
It's
walk
good
down.
to
I walk
have.
down the street playing it.
People get out of your way.
Well,
Whack.
no, it's a midnight rice field. There's nobody there.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds creepy though. Dude walking along with a ukulele at 11.
Ding,
Yeah,
ding, 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 ding.
yeah, in a rice field. Yeah, so probably blows someone's minds. But yeah, it's quiet. Okay. Anyway, I will catch you soon. This one comes out. Actually, it's pretty soon. When I said you
Yeah, because
just had
we
Halloween.
both had really interesting Wednesdays back to back.
Right. Mine's a Thursday, but yeah,
Oh yeah,
it
yeah.
is going to come out on the 7th of November. So yeah, November 7th. The funny thing is, there's still a giant hole in my molar because in Japan they'll do like half the work and have you come back like the next week. Even when you get a cleaning, they'll have you come back like 3 times. Like
That's weird.
they'll just do the bottom one time and then they'll just do the top and then they want to come back and like check everything one more time. So the guy like drilled and did the medicine or whatever, and there's just like a hole. And yesterday at work, we just had our vacation week, so there's like some omiyage, some chocolates and stuff around. But when I forgot that I need to eat on the right side, and I was like, oh my god, for like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he fill it in, man? Which is I guess tomorrow morning. So
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad it'll get filled in.
right, that's just, yeah. And the idea of that, like, okay, I did half the work, come back next week.
It's so bizarre. Yeah, I can't imagine that.
I keep having like there's apple in my tooth now. I have to get the bit of apple out of my tooth. That's really annoying.
Ugh. Yeah, no
So,
thanks.
I mean anyway, it's fine now and it should be under full control by tomorrow. So
Good. I'm glad, man. You take care of yourself, okay?
Okay. Have a good one. Have a spooky
Yep.
Halloween. All that.